FutureDDS family. Today we have a very special episode for you. Today we will be talking with Dr. Jackie Pierre. She's a practicing dentist in New York. Of course, she completed dental school. She did a GPR program. She is a wife and a mother. Uh, great advice coming to you all this episode. And we just thought that she was somebody who we really wanted to sit down with and really talk about what we're going through, get some advice from her. Everybody introducing Dr. Pierre. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you guys for coming on with me. Thank you for inviting me to your platform. This is awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so, Dr. Pierre, if you could go ahead and basically just, I guess, reintroduce yourself. Let us know where you're from, where you went to undergrad, where you went to dental school, and also where you went to your GPR program.
Okay.
Just everything. Just like a brief overview.
A little overview. Okay, so I'm Dr. Jacqueline here. I am a general and cosmetic dentist based out of New York City. So I am from Brooklyn, New York. So shout out to all the Brooklyn people. I'm from New York City, native New Yorker. I went to college in Pennsylvania at Messiah College. Very small school. And then I decided to bring it back on home for dental school. So I went to NYU College of Dentistry, finished up in 2014, and I decided to go to Brooklyn Hospital Center for my GPR residency.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I guess a question that we're looking into right now is, why did you actually decide to get into your GPR? Where'd you end up doing GPR first off? Again, I guess where was it, and then how did you what factors kind of went into you making that decision? Was it the undergrad? Was it something you always had in mind? If you could walk us through that process.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I went to the Brooklyn Hospital Center in downtown Brooklyn, New York. Actually, in New York State, I don't know if you're aware, but in a couple of states, you do have a mandatory GPR in order to practice, but that's not the main reason why I did it. I did it because you learn a lot of things in dental school, but sometimes there's not enough time to really hone in on fine-tuning those skills, right? And also learning more things. So you may leave dental school with a certain number of requirements. So you may need 8 endo, you may need a certain number of crowns. But when you leave dental school, you may not be fully prepared in terms of your speed, in terms of your skill set, right? So it is an opportunity to really learn and hone in on those skills and also build a lot of speed. So I always wanted to do GPR for that reason.
Okay, awesome. And so, were you able to do implants at your program? Because I know that's a huge concern, or at least with our graduating class. Everybody's like, oh, I want to make sure I'm doing implants. I want to make sure I'm doing this, that, or the third. What was your overall experience like? And would you recommend it to people graduating within this pandemic going on right now?
The GPR. So you're asking if I had any implant experience during my GPR?
Sure. I know GPR is more hospital based, so were you seeing a lot more oral surgery type of cases, or what exactly were you seeing?
Right. So a GPR is hospital based versus a traditional AAGD, which is a little bit of a different program, a little bit more like private practice. I definitely am really happy that I did a GPR. In a GPR, you get the opportunity to take call. So you get the opportunity to learn about trauma cases, lacerations, and you may not think you're going to do that as a general practitioner, but you will. You will. So it's really nice to learn those skills. Also, it depends on the program you go to, whether you place implants or not. Some programs are very implant heavy. So when you are applying, if you're really interested in placing implants, which I think you should be, it's kind of the wave of the future for general dentistry, then I would focus on programs that do that. My program didn't place many implants. And the reason is because we had an oral surgery program there as well. So usually programs that have oral surgery, a lot of times those residents get the majority of those cases. So that's something to factor in when you go to GPR. If you don't get that experience in GPR, it's the learning doesn't stop there. So don't fret about that, because afterwards you're going to have continuing education. You're always learning. I'm always at a course. I'm always learning new things. So you can look forward to that.
Awesome. Okay. I guess a quick question that kind of popped into my head just now is, I guess, how were some of the courses or some of the material that you learned through your GPR, how did that kind of compare to, I guess, your experience going through CE courses? Were they comfortable at all, or was it a little bit more of a mentor type of situation in the GPR versus the CE? How was it? I guess.
Yeah, it is a little. Yeah, it is a little bit different. That's a great question. GPR is great because it kind of helps you get your feet wet a little bit before you enter the private world. You know, I always tell students, like in dental school, you may get 2 to 3 hours for a procedure, right? And we get used to that. You need that time in the beginning, right? And when you get to residency, they cut that in half, and you have the guidance of a seasoned dentist to really help push you and really help guide you. I mean, in my GPR, I had a phenomenal black male lead, and he was just like a father figure, right? He led us really, really well. He was caring, compassionate, really taught us life skills about the field. So I think that's the benefit that you really have in GPR. Sometimes you don't get that in dental school, right? You may not get that to the greatest degree. So you can fine tune those skills under like a mentorship, which is like the perfect way to do it, I think. And comparing that to CE courses, it's a little bit different. The CE courses, you know, you're already like a seasoned doc, right? You're just all there learning more. You don't have that really one-on-one. It's kind of like a group of people, and you're learning the things together. So it's a little bit different.
Awesome, awesome. And so now we want to ask you about your transition into actual practice. You know, I think, you know, for those who aren't doing GPR, I mean, the application pool within dentistry is nerve-wracking as well. You know, we never really, well, most of us haven't had a job within the field. So, like, how was that applying for a job, and how was that transition leaving a educational environment going into an actual work environment?
Yeah, it's, you know what, it is a challenge to some degree, right? Because you're used to a certain environment in dental school, then you get used to the environment in your GPR program. It's a constant evolution, right? You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to learn at all times, be willing to grow, be willing to be critiqued, right? Because that will happen. But relatively smooth. I mean, there are some bumps in the road because you are learning, like I said, in private practice, the speed has to be really up, right? So something you may have gotten 3 hours for, now you have a half an hour for. So you have to kind of figure out how to navigate those things. And also in private practice, which is different from GPR, is that you may have 2 patients that you're working on at the same time. You may have an assistant taking x-rays on one patient, while another one is taking impressions, while another one has cord pack for a crown. So you have to learn to navigate how to run multiple rooms, how to, you know, make sure all your patients feel that they're being cared for, and make sure they all get the attention they need. So it's kind of something you have to really work towards.
Gotcha. Okay. So, you know, we're kind of going to kind of shift gears a little bit more so to lifestyle, you know, and we have a lot of mothers out there who are, you know, either dentists, aspiring dentists, dental students. I'm sure they're wondering how you balance this, the family and the career, the lifestyle. So if you could just, you know, give some tips or how that balance is, how you kind of come into that balance of lifestyle, family, and career.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I fell in love with dentistry, you know, I knew I was sold on the profession. I wanted to do this with my life, or I wanted to help patients. I wanted to make a difference. And one of the things that I really loved about dentistry is the work-life balance. I mean, dentists have a great lifestyle. This is something to consider. You know, some people are on the edge. Do I want to be a physician? Do I want to be a dentist? Do I want to be different things? And you have to kind of factor out all those things that, you know, what brings you joy? You know, what about that field really captivates you? And one thing that I really loved about dentistry, in addition to all the things that I already loved, was that you could have work-life balance. And as a woman, I knew I wanted a family. I knew I wanted children. And I mean, it's been great. And I think, well, you have to keep your priorities, right? I am a mother first, right? I'm a dentist second. And I love my profession. I do it to the best of my capacity. But you just have to understand that your career is not number one, that your family is priority, and you have to make time for those things. You have to make time for putting your child to bed. You got to make time for going to those, you know, functions that you need to go to. But I think dentistry as a profession makes it pretty simplified to have both.
Awesome. And so,
but it's something you have to work towards. You know?
That is definitely like, I'm sorry, would you say one more time?
It's something you have to work towards every day. You want that balance, you know, you want to work hard, but you also need to make sure that you're present for your family and that matters most.
Right.
Yeah, it's something that, you know, I mean, we don't have to think about it yet, you know, but you know, sure it's on the way. Sure it's on the way. So thank you for that. And I have another question that just kind of popped into my head because, you know, I think you might be one of the alumni of a pretty expensive middle school, similar to us at least. whereas NYU, I know those tuition prices are a little bit up there. And of course, without going into like super personal, details, what would you recommend to somebody who is graduating with, 400,000 plus in debt, because that's definitely something that is on our backs. And I mean, for a lot of dental students, actually, even if their dental school might only be 300, they might have undergrad loans. And so it's definitely a pressure. And, you being a recent grad, we would like to get your perspective on that. Should we, attack it head on, or should we kind of pay the minimum balance and then try to, get capital beforehand? Or what would you recommend?
So that is a phenomenal question. And I mean, if you guys want to do a whole talk about this later, I am willing to do this. This is so important.
It might have to.
This is super important. And I really wish I had this guidance like when I was going through the process. But you kind of like learn to navigate. And the beauty in it is that now I can kind of like help students that are coming up now and tackling it and hitting that head on. I mean, what I would really recommend, it starts in dental school. So I would really recommend living as meekly as you can, right? Getting a roommate if you can, and really not taking out the full loans if you're able to. Now, sometimes you need them. If you live in an expensive city like Boston, like New York, like, you may need it, right? But if you can avoid taking the full 100,000 that they're giving you, please do, because it really, really multiplies very fast. And if you have, it's okay. Once you exit dental school, I would recommend really paying that balance down. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so I do recommend getting one. I highly recommend getting one because you do want to have some capital, right? You want to have some capital to invest. You want to have some capital for emergency funds, like, coronavirus hit, people need emergency funds, right? So you definitely want to put certain things in different categories, but I personally recommend aggressively paying your loans. Mm-hmm. The first step I would do is refinancing them. So if you could refinance them, not consolidation, if you could actually refinance them to a lower percentage rate. Now, if many of you may know that dental school interest rates can be up to 7%, which are pretty high, right? Just to give you an idea, like a mortgage is like usually around 3.5%, maybe 4%. So it's really high. So imagine getting $400,000 in debt and then it multiplying over the years. Now, if you are going to do a GPR, you're still not making dentist salary. So at that point, of course, I would recommend maybe paying at least your interest, or maybe making small monthly payments, doing like pay as you earn, because they'll like factor in where you are at that point. But I would definitely pay them. I would try to avoid forbearance if you can. Refinance first, and then get on a small monthly plan.
Okay.
I would definitely do that. Keep in mind though, guys, that if you refinance, like say you have federal loans, if you do refinance, then you lose those benefits of like doing forbearance and things like that when things come up. So that's something to factor in, but I still think the benefits outweigh the risks of refinancing.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. But yeah, pay it down aggressively. Even once you leave residency and dental school, it's very tempting to go get that brand new car. Yeah. Right? Because you're a dentist, you made it, right?
No.
Right?
Learn that lesson.
You're like, I need to get my car, I need to get a nice house, I need to get, these things. Because you made it and you're proud of yourself, and you should be, right? But should hold up a little bit. Let's pay down those loans. Let's keep a little savings. Let's keep a little bit to invest as well. And but we should have a whole talk on that. That would be a great discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna have to revisit this.
Yeah.
We're definitely
Yes.
Okay, so coming into these last few questions, specifically for us heading into fourth year, and I guess with everything going on with COVID, what type of tips or what type of advice could you offer a fourth year heading into that fourth year? What kind of information would you say we try to really expunge from this experience in this last year?
Yeah, so what I'd say is I think everything happens for a reason, right? And I think any hurdle that you face, any hardship that you face, anything that you come across is an opportunity for growth, right? So understanding what the situation means for us as a country, for us as a dental profession, it's going to change a lot. It's going to change a lot. The way we interact with each other, it's going to change the way we practice dentistry, right? So understanding that and seeing what we can learn from this experience, that's really going to be what makes or breaks us. We will go back to some normalcy, maybe a new normal. But if you just kind of focus on the situation and understand what you can learn from this process, how you can, move that forward into your career, I think everybody will be fine.
Okay, awesome. And so, I mean, I guess we just asked about ourselves, but we don't want to leave out the pre-dents,
Oh, yes.
So what are some tips? Yeah, we're being selfish right now. A lot of good information.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for a pre-dent? Say somebody is trying to still get into dental school. Do you have any words of advice for them?
Absolutely. And I talk with pre-dents a lot and kind of coach you guys through the process. And, it's really, really important to start early. Okay. Be organized in the process. I would say give yourself time in this process. This is not a rush to the finish line. This is a really kind of like a marathon, right? So prepare yourself before you apply. Really prepare yourself. Hone in on the things that make you a strong applicant. You definitely want to be shadowing. You definitely want to be doing community service. And not only will these things be great for your application, but it would allow you to fall in love with dentistry. I mean, if you're doing community-related activities like Missions of Mercy and dental missions and things like that, you're really going to fall in love with the field, and it also gets your feet wet. You also want to really give yourself enough time to really prepare for that DAT. I do one-on-one talks with students, and I found that some people do have to rush, or they feel like they need to do it in a certain period of time, and it really is a hindrance for them in the end, right? You definitely want to make sure you give yourself adequate time to study for that exam. I recommend at least 4 to 6 months, in my personal opinion, to do the best that you can. And the last thing I would say is find a really good mentor, right? And what you guys are doing is great, because this is like mentorship to the next level, right? All these resources that you're providing for the students, find a great mentor, get a person that you can get really great resources from. And that's going to set you up for success, right? So I would say focus on being the best overall applicant that you can. And I actually wrote an ebook about this. It's called Getting Into Dental School 101. You can find the link in my bio on Instagram. But it's Getting Into Dental School 101. And basically, it's a step-by-step guide of the things that you guys really talk about, the things that I've talked about so many times in my private sessions with pre-dental students to prepare them. It talks about all those things you need to really make yourself strong as possible as an applicant and really get in. Ultimately, that's the goal, right?
Get in and get out.
Get in, and then we have a whole nother, talk and support for you guys to make sure you make it out successfully. So, but the first step is getting in, yes.
Definitely. Well, Dr. Jackie, thank you so much, for all the information you provided to us, pre-dents, everyone out there. We'll make sure we put the description for your book down in, or the link to your book down in the description so everybody can get to it. Thank you again for sitting down with us.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. And I'm so proud of you guys. I mean, your platform is amazing. You are helping so many students, and I'm so proud of you guys as a dentist, and you guys will be my fellow dentists soon, so.
Yeah, almost there.
Keep up the great work, guys.
Of course. And we're definitely going to need to run back the episode about financials.
Yeah, financial.
Yes, that's a very important one. So nobody missed that one. That's important.
Thank you, everybody, once again for joining us today. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Also hit the notification bell so that you know whenever we post new content. If you have any questions for Terrell and I over at FutureDDS, you can shoot us a DM on Instagram at _FutureDDS. But if not, I think we're done today. Yep. So see y'all next time.
See y'all.
Bye. Thank you.